conversation with Danneel Ackles, a multi-talented actress, producer, and entrepreneur most recognized.
Yeah. Well,
Winging it.
And in the book you do that, and you divide it into 3 sections. You know, you have your childhood, your young adulthood, which I was lucky enough to spend with you, and then your current life. And you've divided that up by the houses you lived in, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, because your identity should be prevalent in your home. And that's something that we talk about in the book a lot. Like, real estate culture is really damaging, I think, to people's identity, because we're told that it is a financial transaction that you're supposed to, you know, put all your money into and then worry about the person who's going to buy it after you. And it's contractor gray paint and beige exterior, and make sure you don't have anything weird in your front yard. And I hate that, because how limiting, you know? That's the place that's supposed to be your sanctuary. That's the place where you spend your most intimate time. And so make it a reflection of who you are on the inside, so that when people visit you, they have a clear understanding of who you are. It's your canvas. So make it weird. Like Cherokee, my very good friend, sitting right here with my friend Tara, I gave Cherokee a hawk, because our kids go to a school where the mascot is the Hawks, and I know that she loves me because she keeps this hawk outside on her front doorstep. And it's like so weird for other people to see, not weird for us. Now, still have them, but Jeffrey won't let me keep them in the house. Smart. So we've got this super ramshackle farmhouse that's the original farmhouse on our property, and I let painters live there. And so they can come up and they can paint and make beautiful art. And they also help me a little bit with like the animals. But the painters have been painting.
Put Barnabas in there?
The kids love it.
Like, this lady's offering us a free place to stay, but I don't know.
Oh, they think it's quirky.
Speaking of collecting things, in the book you say you've always wanted to record, keep, and collect, which I named RKC, which I am going to now, because of reading this book, I'm going to be that girl. Which I have always been a TIA, throw it away girl for my entire life. And my husband, really, it bothers him because he has like an entire section of our house that is just memorabilia, like all of it.
He likes stuff. He likes trinkets.
He loves stuff, and I don't. But now I'm starting to realize that it's important.
Yeah.
And
like hoarding.
hoarding's different. That's not what I'm talking about.
We're not hoarding. We're rebranding it.
Yes, and well, we're just.
Yeah, I know plenty of people that have inherited money, and it's miserable. It's miserable because there's a financial transaction happening within your family. That's weird. I don't want my kids to anticipate that. I don't want my kids to think that a material thing is the measurement of how much I love them. And so instead, if I give my kids the poems that saved me on my darkest days, if I give them the journals that I kept when I was 12 years old, I mean, I have all of that. And what it does is it normalizes their experience. And it gives them tools that worked for me, and maybe some of them will work for my kids. Not all of them will. I cannot anticipate my daughter liking all the same things that I like, as cool as that would be. But I want them to understand trauma in a way that we all need to, where it's life, and her family goes off to the fair, and she meets this photographer and has this tour de fair, and like they have letters that she keeps in the attic, and her kids, when she dies, they think she was just some old fuddy-duddy farm wife, and then they find all of this stuff about their mom, and it completely upends their definition of her. And so it was important to me that I collect things that my children aren't going to experience with me. They don't know what my life was when I was doing MTV. They don't know what my life was when we were in North Carolina. And I don't want them to have a myopic view of what a person is, you know? Yes, I am their mother. I love them. It's my favorite thing about my life is that I get to be their mother. but I've also been a bad bitch. And they need to know it. And all of our friends' kids need to know it too. Like, I encourage all of my friends to be like, leave a breadcrumb trail for your kids or for your spouse, you know, or for your own parents.
I'm going to continue being a perfect angel and just give them Hilarie's book and say, this is what some people do. And this is similar. Can you kind of break that down for everybody so they don't have to go on the like rabbit hole Google journey?
Right.
Yeah.
So Rural Diaries was a diary in a very different way than this book is a grimoire. The diary was really straightforward, right? And I wrote it in earlier chapter of my life. I was certainly much younger. I talk in that book about things I was experiencing in my late 20s and early 30s when I was trying to conceive. I was still in that middle chunk of a woman's life where I'm trying to create more lives and I'm trying to be fertile with not just my body but with my brain as well. And that was a fun process. But this book was, right, if they found a grimoire in a woman's house, she was dead. And anything could be categorized as grimoire, you know? You could just have a cookbook. But if you drew a little doodle in the corner and it kind of looked like a demon, you know, like, well, what does that mean? She's dead, kill her. And so calling this a grimoire from the jump felt like an act of rebellion. Yes. It was an act of just like, you vilified the word, we're gonna take it back. This is ours now. All of us are gonna have grimoires, as a matter of fact. You can't kill all of us. And so I'm in a much different phase now because I'm no longer trying to have children. Obviously, like, I've let my hair go gray. I've gotten real spicy on the internet. And there is a stage after that fertile chunk of time in a lady's life called the crone phase. And a lot of women feel, I just saw some people laugh. They're like, oh God, nobody wants to be a crone. Wrong, I do. Because in the crone phase, you're no longer trying to get a husband. You're no longer trying to buy your first house. You're not trying to have children and raise them. You're in your phase of self-pleasure, right? That last phase where you don't need anything from anybody anymore. And the crone phase is the phase of pleasure, where you get to just explore things because they interest you. You've got the time to dig into that. And so this grimoire is something that an older woman would pass down to a younger woman. And I certainly plan on adding to mine, right? And like continuing with it, but I wanted to take this opportunity to invite other women to go on that journey together. Like, don't wait to start the grimoire. Start it today. Start it tomorrow. Collect the things that are gonna keep you alive, because who knows when we're gonna have another, like, you know, world-altering apocalypse. We need to collect all the magic we can while we have the ability to do that.
No, it's amazing. And you'll see the book is set up in such a cool way. I love the mates.
Yeah.
What do these people possess that attracts you to them?
I mean, I feel really lucky that in all the different chapters of my life, there have been women who are able to walk through fire. And it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean that it's not scary, but they make up their mind that we're gonna get to the other side together. And I have my very dear friends from the Hudson Valley here right now who are in the book, Shergene Kemp and Tara Schaefer. I talk about them a lot in the book. And it's important to have those people because you will be uncertain. You will be scared. And surrounding yourself with people who say, cool, we're gonna be scared together. They don't try to talk you out of the feeling. They don't gaslight you and tell you you're wrong about that feeling. They just say, great, we're gonna do it together. And I see some of you looking at each other right now, that's happy. But you know, Danneel and I met in a pretty toxic place. And I feel really, really lucky that we were able to look at each other and say, fuck it, we'll just do it together.
Yeah, like, this is fucked up, it's not okay, but you're here.
Yeah. Let's go hang out in my haunted house.
Yeah. You did introduce me to All About Eve. The film, if you haven't seen it, see it. It's great. And a Pimm's Cup.
Girl, I had a Pimm's Cup last dinner to celebrate the book coming out. Yeah, it's a Louisiana drink. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. That chapter and writing about the Wilmington chapter in the book was really difficult because it was right when we first started doing the Drama Queens podcast. We were talking about some pretty heavy stuff, and it's how do you take a terrible chunk of time and make it funny and make it light and make it something that you can look back on without shame. And so a lot of the book called storytelling. Everyone loves an urban legend, right? Urban legends have spawned countless books and movies and songs. I used to love those songs from the 1950s and 60s that told horrible, sad stories about someone's boyfriend or girlfriend dying after a series of poor choices. Leader of the Pack, Last Kiss, Tell Laura I Love Her, Teen Angel, Endless Sleep. Teenagers are doomed. I also came of age at the rebirth of teen scream movies. Freshman year in high school, my friends and I lied to our parents and said we were going to see Jerry Maguire. We did not. Instead, we sneaked into Scream and were ruined forever. The success of that movie ensured that my high school years were filled with busty ingenues running from all kinds of urban legends. Dudes with hooks, classmates with knives, lots of masks, teachers who were aliens, you get the picture. These are stories that live for decades, or centuries even, and for good cause. Gathering around to share in our creativity is a basic human impulse. Gathering around to scare the hell out of each other, it helps weed out the weenies. It's a good way of finding your tribe and your particular brand of weirdness. Growing up, my dad was the storyteller in our family. I knew that the area we lived in had been developed in the 1960s, before which it was a huge stretch of rolling hills and pastoral farmland. The Appalachian Mountains surrounded us, and so when my father told me the story of the farmer whose wife complained of something scratching at the door, I could visualize it perfectly. When he told me that the farmer's wife left the house at night, and shortly thereafter the farmer heard a scratching at the door, I could feel the dread bubbling up. When the farmer shot through the door, thinking it was the legendary panther that had been stalking the area, only to find his slain wife outside the door, I fully believed that this story happened in the rural Virginia farmlands. I was well into adulthood before I found out that that's a story that people tell everywhere.
The first time I ever got introduced to synchronicities was when I read your first book, and it was crazy. I remember reading it Memorial Day weekend this year because I decided to just start rewatching the show. And I was reading the part where you were supposed to get married on St. Martin, and that's where I'm from.
Oh, no way!
I know, and I was just like, I read that, I'm like, Mom, I like called her for a meeting, I'm like, that's crazy. It was just like such a random thing, but it was really, really cool. And now, like, I've been starting to notice them a lot more, and I think my question to you is more like, as a 23-year-old, how do you convince people around you that you're not crazy, you know? Like, I know it comes, like, you know, when you're older, you get to, like, tell people your stories, and they believe you a little bit more, but as a 23-year-old, just saying, like, look at this random coincidence, they're like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, how do I convince my friends that I'm not?
Don't give them teacup handles. Yes, that's a great question, and I think, I mean, I absolutely remember being your age and feeling like a lone wolf in that capacity because I couldn't find anyone that wanted to talk about the things that I wanted to talk about, that I was curious about, and I would get frustrated. And I think you're in a really great place where you don't need to convince anyone, babe. Like, right now you're in your collection phase. So instead of trying to convince the people around you, like, find your weirdos, find your weirdos, find your weirdos. And every year of your life, you'll add one more person to that mix, right? You'll strike up a random conversation and you'll be like, we're gonna be friends. And then when you get to the point where you're my age, you'll have an army of weirdos. And so keep being the woo-woo friend in your circle, right?
I mean, I have one. Like, every time it's a full moon, I'm like, we've got to come
Guys,
together.
yes.
Bailey's, the moon is out tonight.
They'll come when they're ready for it. But in the meantime, like, you're special in that group, so keep talking about it with them. But take this opportunity to collect, because there's a lot of people out there that love the things that you love, and they're just waiting for you to find them. I got a random book from someone who had read it, and it was a book on that. And she was like,